What's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about the complete process of setting up your S Corporation holding company. So you want to watch the video from the beginning to the end so you don't miss out on any details. So let's go ahead and talk about why we want to set this up. And the first thing that you want to do, you want to set up your holding company first, then use that holding company to set up your operating company. And then you want to get that operating company making money. Let me just say something so I'll be 100% clear. Unless you have a business that is making money, none of this information is going to do you any good. None of it. It all starts with having an operating company that is generating money. So, do you need to fill out the two forms for the S Corp when you start your holding company and operating company? Absolutely not. You do not fill out those forms until you start paying yourself a salary. And once again, let's talk about how much should you be paying yourself. If you're paying yourself like $40,000, I would not start an S Corporation for my holding company. You want to be north of $100,000 gross annual revenue. If you're doing 200, 300, 400, 500,000 or $1 million, yes, this would be perfect for you. And I want to explain a little further in the video how this really works out for you. But once again, let's go ahead and say this at the beginning. Unless you have operating companies that are making money, none of this stuff is going to do you a bit of good. None of this stuff is going to help you because that's the lever that generates this. So you have your holding company, you have your operating company, you have your functional company that's making money. So let's go ahead and say you set this up and your operating company is doing $250,000 a year. Now, what you would do is pay yourself a salary. And there's a lot of information about paying yourself a salary. And what I would do if I had $150,000 coming in, I would pay myself a $50,000 salary. And then I would take the other money as a dividend. Why would you do that? With your salary, you want to start a business, you want to set up a holding company, an operating company, you want to get yourself some business credit, you want to learn how to run a business, you want to start your first online business. If you want to do that, and congratulations to you for being a person that wants more out of life, for being that person that's ready to sit down, do the work so your future can be brighter. I got something for you. Go below and enter into the Corporate Citizen Playbook where we teach you all of that plus a lot more. Because you are not a normal, regular person. You want more out of life. You want to do more, you want to be more, you want to have more. And congratulations to you. So the link is below. Go ahead and check out this video. And then go ahead and enroll in the Corporate Citizen Playbook where I teach you some things that you cannot Google. Can't Google it. Can't Google it at all. You're going to pay 15%, let's just go ahead and say 16% payroll taxes, as well as whatever you're going to pay to the Internal Revenue Service. Once you pay yourself a dividend, you're only going to pay your taxes to the Internal Revenue Service. You will not pay that. So essentially, by having an S Corp holding company, you're going to save 16%. Now, let's go ahead and make it easy. That's going to be $16,000 per 100,000. $16,000 per 100,000. So if you were doing, let's go ahead and kind of change the math up a bit. Let's say you had a company that after expenses, after cost of goods, there was a profit of 1.5 million. Now, this is what I would do, because your taxes are going to be about 600,000 if you just go ahead and just pay taxes on everything. So what I would do is pay myself say 250, and they're going to take about $80,000 in taxes. And this is going to be your IRS taxes, and this is going to be your payroll taxes, Medicaid, Medicare, all this other stuff. And for once you get past 137,000, they're going to stop taking the money out for the Social Security Administration. That stops. I've noticed that many years ago. So pay yourself $250, pay full taxes on that, and then that's going to leave you $1.2 million. So you're going to save about almost $200,000 in taxes if you set it up holding company, S Corp, operating company, send in, and this is the thing, an S Corp is not a fancy corporation. An S Corp is a tax situation. You form your holding company, which could be an LLC, it could be a C Corp, it could be a partnership, it could be whatever. And then you will send in one or two, there's two forms. You can send one form in, or you can send two forms to set up your S Corp. And then once again, we do not send any forms into the Internal Revenue Service until we start paying ourselves money. Once we begin paying ourselves money, this is when the benefits start. So you've got that. And this is one of the best situations to set up for yourself, because once you set up a holding company with an S Corp, with the S Corp designation, this sets you up to save a lot of money. But once again, what did I say at the beginning of the video? None of this stuff is going to help you out. It's not going to work unless you have a business that is making money. So that's one of the things that you need to do. You need to have your business up, running, and making money for this S Corp tax designation to apply to you. Now, let's go ahead and talk about setting up the holding company, because this does sound somewhat complex, but here's the thing. In the Internal Revenue Service, once you set up the holding company, and this is very, very important, so pay attention. You use the holding company as the organizer for the operating companies. Why is this important? You want the holding company to own the operating companies. And there's very, really interesting ways. Now, I'm going to advise you a way to do it, because if you want to maintain privacy, I would hire someone to do this. Because let's say you have a Wyoming holding company, and then you want to go ahead and set up your operating company in Florida, right? So your Wyoming holding company will be the organizer. But here's where it gets very interesting. Even as your holding company, which is a Wyoming-based holding company, which means no one can look and see who owns it, when you go to the state of Florida and you file your LLC paperwork, someone's going to have to sign off as an organizer. So this is why I would hire someone to set up my corporation in the state of Florida, because there's going to be places for them. It's like, are you the organizer, or were you hired to set this up? So you hire someone to set this up, and they put their name in the organization slot and leave your name off. Now, privacy. Once again, in the beginning of my business journey, really didn't care a lot about privacy. I will share a story with you. This happened a long, long time ago. Me and my business partner, we had multiple companies, and there was a girl I was dating, and she's like, yeah, I had a private investigator look you up, and I see you have all these corporations. I just literally placed my hands on the table, and I was stunned. I was shocked, because it never occurred to me that someone would be looking into my business. It never occurred to me. And even at that point, I still did not have privacy as a concern, but now privacy is very important to me. And this is why I give you the details, because yes, even if you have that Wyoming-based holding company and you have it set up, You need to hire someone to form your operating companies, or you're going to have to put your name on that paperwork, and the illusion of being anonymous just completely disappears. So this is one of the things that you have to do. So another thing that you have to understand, setting up the holding company properly. And this gets into where we go for business banking. Every time I sit down with a banker for a business credit card or a line of credit, they ask me what the NAS code is. Now, the way that it's set up now is my holding company NAS code is the owner of the other companies. So the holding company never does business with anyone, never does business with anyone. So the holding company's job is to be the management company. Manage, set up, or buy other companies. And that's the holding company's job. Now, this is very, very important. When you set up a holding company that way, as the management company, it can't be sued unless you, as the owner of the holding company, does something stupid, like drinking and driving. Like you're out having a good time, you're drinking, you run into someone, you injure someone, you leave them paralyzed. They can sue you, and they can go after your holding company, because here's the thing. Here's you, here's the holding company, here's the operating companies. But see, you being the key indicator in this lawsuit, all your holding companies and all of your operating companies are open to lawsuit because you did something stupid. And this is why I keep using the word stupid, because as a holding company owner, you don't want to do anything stupid. You don't want to drink and drive. And also, let me just go ahead, and a lot of people want to know about this. Let's say you go ahead and you set up your holding company and your operating company before you get married. Before you get married. One of the things that I would do, and this is something you need to bring up early. You meet someone, you're very interested in them, you want to get married. You need to bring up a prenuptial agreement very soon as you're thinking about marrying this person. And just go ahead and explain it to your bride like this. My financial people said that this is something that I need to do. And just bring it up, don't hide from it. And the earlier, the better. And it's just essentially, I had all this before I met you. And I love you, I care for you. But if something changes in the future, I don't want something that I built before I met you to be at risk. And just say it like that. Now, if this woman really loves you, she's not going to have a big problem. But if she has a huge problem with signing a prenup for you to protect things that you built before you met her, I would take that as a sign. I would take that as a sign. Now, here's something else you should know. Let's say you were married, you met your wife in college. Y'all got married before any one of you had anything. And through the course of this marriage, you built your holding company, and you built this while you were married. Guess what? Doesn't matter that your wife never did anything for the company. She owns half of it, because this was a product of something that was built during marriage. And this is why I always tell men, go ahead, do your stuff before you get tied down, before you get married, before you start having children. But once again, a lot of people want to go ahead, wife her up, start having children, and then create this product during the marriage. And once again, anything that is created during the marriage is 50% hers, whether she contribute to it or not. And this is one of the things where you have to understand the law. And this is why I gave you this explanation of why you should build your business before you get married, before you start having children, so you can protect yourself. Because if there is no business, there's no assets, there's no money, a prenuptial agreement is just completely stupid, because there's nothing to protect. So that's my lesson for you in setting up your S Corp holding company and protecting your assets. Because one of the things that you have to understand, and one of the things that you have to really be aware of, is how the law works. Like I said, I gave you that example of the only way that the holding company could be sued is you, the owner of the holding company, does something stupid. As long as you're going out and conducting your life in a nice and reasonable manner, you'll never have to worry about this. But once again, this is the procedures for setting up an S corporation. And the Internal Revenue Service is already set up, because once you set up this S Corp, there's a form that you have to fill out that's going to ask you to list all of the companies that the holding company owns and what's your percentage of ownership. Because when I was doing my taxes, my percentage of ownership for each one of these holding companies was 100%. So this is another good thing about setting it up. Let's go ahead and say you have your holding company, your first operating company set up. You've got your operating company set for bear. What does set for bear means? That you've got it set up, it's operating, it's running, you have employees, and you really don't have to spend a lot of time in your company for it to make you money. So this is the perfect time for you to start another company. Now, because you have this holding company and it owns this operating company, paying yourself out of this new operating company is super simple. Why? You've already got your holding company, your first operating company, you're paying yourself a salary. You could just let that money sit in the operating company as long as you want. You could, if you don't really need it, you could let it sit, and you could literally pass it up at the end of the year as a dividend to the parent company. And then what you would do is pay yourself a dividend and only pay the Internal Revenue Service and skip that 16% payroll tax. And once, because it's already set up, the system's already built, so it's very easy to add another company to add more money. It's really simple. But here's where a lot of people get it really messed up. They'll listen to me talk on YouTube and they'll go out and set up 4, 5, 6 LLCs that are not connected, that are not set up properly. And essentially you have all of these businesses that you now have to have additional guidance and help on the tax standpoint because they were not set up correctly. Don't do that. Don't do that. So this is how you set up your S Corp holding company. And once again, it could be an LLC, it could be a C Corp. And let me go ahead and tell you why I don't recommend that you set up as a C Corp. You set up as a C Corp, you run into dual taxation and also the corporation has to file its own tax return, and then you have to file a tax return. When you set up an S corporation holding company, you file what's called an informational return with all of your EINs and the companies and all this other stuff, informational stuff. And then you, at the end of the year, file a 1040 and you move all of that money to your 1040, and that's how you file your taxes as an S Corp owner. It's quite simple, it's quite easy, and I would recommend that you get yourself QuickBooks. Set up yourself a QuickBooks account and start keeping record of your expenses month to month, because this just makes tax season so easy. Makes it so easy. So I would advise you to go ahead and get a QuickBooks account. It's going to be like $30 a month. And also, this opens up the door for you to get that QuickBooks Capital loan because you have a company that's making money. And one of the things that you're doing is showing and setting yourself up to be in the position to get massive funding in the future. All right, so if you want to learn this stuff step by step, go below, get in the Corporate Citizen Playbook. I got a comment and I didn't get an answer. And it's like the Internal Revenue, not the Internal Revenue, I think SCORE offers all this stuff for free. Let me tell you a little story. Years and years ago, I had something called Hustler's Kung Fu. And 19 business courses, and I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, and I was full of it, and I was drinking the Kool-Aid. So I gave all of these courses away for free. Take a wild guess at how many people took these courses, used this information to start a business. Take a wild guess. Did you guess? Did you put it in the comments? 95% of the people who got these free courses didn't do anything with it. And I'm gonna tell you why. I've learned so many things here being on YouTube. Number one, they were the wrong people. Number two, these people were never gonna buy a course because they were not interested in starting a business. They just got it because it was free. So anytime someone comes to me and it's like, all this stuff is for free, ask yourself this question. Why do you have to have something for free? Why don't you have any money to prepare yourself for your future? Very interesting once you start to think of it that way, because I've been around a lot of people, rich people have no problem paying for the things they need. But if you don't have the money, this is where the free conversation comes in, because you have not prepared yourself to be successful because you don't know how to manage your money. And this is where the free conversation comes in. And typically 95% of the people who are looking for the free stuff will never act upon it, never take action, never build a business. 95%. So if you're not one of those people, go below, get into the Corporate Citizen Toolbox, where I break this stuff down step by step to help you set up your corporation, your S Corp, and all that and a lot more. Go below, links below. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.